Hi there, it's Ian here, and you're watching Grumpy Opinions, the show where I'm going to tell you all about what I think of films, TV shows, games, and life in general. Let's get on with the show. Outlander from Starz Entertainment is a show about Claire, a nurse from the 1940s who's thrown back in time 200 years by magic and ends up embroiled in a world of Jacobites, Culloden, Highlanders, and lots of really good sex. No, really. Episode 10, By the Pricking of My Thumbs, follows closely on from the end of last week's series return, and is an episode absolutely rammed with plot shenanigans and fast-moving story stuff. It starts out when an amorous Mr. and Mrs. Fraser are interrupted from their cunnilingo fun by the announcement that the much-mentioned Duke of Sandringham has just arrived at the castle. So, while Jamie heads off to have a strategy meeting with Ned Gowan, Claire goes off to meet Leary and give her the metaphorical and then the physical smackdown for leaving a voodoo curse under their bed. Leary ends up letting slip that it was the weird, sexy witch Geillis who actually sold it to her, and Claire goes out to find out why. But, seeing only the farty fiscal husband at the house, she eventually finds Geillis doing some weird moon dance in the woods and burning an effigy of a baby. Now, Claire knows a pregnancy when she sees one, and quite rightly calls Geillis on it, but Geillis drops a clanger that the baby is actually Dougal's, not her husband's, and Claire seems surprised, but she's not too bothered because, Geillis is her friend. And quickly, she ends up being distracted by an abandoned baby crying in the woods. Geillis tries to warn her away, saying that it's a changeling fairy child, but Claire climbs her way up the fairy hill anyway like a shot in order to find the baby. And in the hollow of an empty tree, Claire finds the rubber baby from American Sniper. Well, looks like it. But she gets a bit sad, and luckily Jamie manages to inexplicably find her here, and then offers words of comfort and support. So, the next day, Claire sneaks off early to meet up with Sandringham in secret and hints to him that she'll dob him in as being a Jacobite supporter if he doesn't do what Jamie asks. Then she heads back to Leoch, only to find that Dougal's wife has apparently mysteriously died, and he's gone kind of bonkers, and Colm isn't too happy. But she manages to sneak him a sedative, and mentions this to Geillis, who seems rightly a bit pleased. Meanwhile, Jamie and Myrta have met up with Sandringham, who says he'll help them if they assist him in a wee duel that he needs to have with some McDonald's over some owed money. Turns out he's a bad gambler, so fair enough. Anyway, that night there's a great banquet in the Duke's honour up at Castle Leoch, and it all seems to be going pretty smoothly until Geillis' farty husband suddenly keels over and dies. And while most folk are pretty shocked by this, Colm kens exactly what's happened fine, and he isn't too happy yet again. Anyway, the next day, the duel goes all fine, except for some McDonald lads getting cross and starting a bit of business with Jamie, and he has to lay the smackdown on them. But he gets a wee cut in the process, and Claire isn't too happy about that. And it turns out that Colm, again, really isn't too happy, so he ends up sending Dougal and Jamie away without Claire. And a wee kissy parting later, Claire finds herself all on her own, but then she gets a sudden message from Geillis telling her she urgently needs to go to her. But it turns out, the message isn't from Geillis at all, and the wardens suddenly turn up at Geillis' house and arrest both of them for witchcraft. And as Claire stares out of the meat wagon, she sees Leary, who's almost certainly been the mastermind of all of this. So what did I think? Well, the title, By the Pricking of My Thumbs, should have been a bit of a giveaway to anyone who knows their Shakespeare that witches were going to feature in this episode, as it's a famous line from Macbeth. Now, I liked the episode, and in a strange way, it's been the most solid workhorse of an episode that I've ever seen in Outlander. Now sure, there might have been a duel, a poisoning, some intrigue and a shocking finale, but it's the real first time that the series has felt like a cohesive universe in a lot of ways. Now maybe it's just a very welcome return to Castle Leoch, as short-lived as that may be, but the show feels more familiar, and this didn't feel like a stunt episode with a very particular thing going on. Now what's more, the narrative really got driven on without it feeling like there was too much time wasting or a little bit of scenery when the show gets bogged down in sometimes. We're just experiencing the lives of these people, and now it feels like Claire has gone a whole 2 episodes without really talking about getting back to Frank or to the Stones, and it feels so much more settled. There was also the fantastic turn by Simon Callow as the Duke, and he's a classical actor and has always really enjoyed these kind of roles, and he's doing fantastically here as this kind of wannabe Oscar Wilde sort of dude. Now, the show's really been setting up this oncoming witch trial as well, and it's doing it rather nicely with all these intrigues, and of course the murder of Geillis' husband. But, like always, this is Grumpy Opinions, and yeah, I had some issues with this. To begin with, the familiarity of the universe I've mentioned earlier does make the show feel a little bit over-comfortable, And sure, Claire may have sort of accepted her place in this world, but we've not actually heard that said. In fact, the thing that's been really oddly missing from the show ever since the Redcoats snatched her away from Craig Nadoon a few episodes ago is any further thoughts from Claire about Frank, or getting home to 1945 one way or the other. Now, sure, I've read the book, and I know how all this pans out, and I know that the audience wants her to stay with Jamie, but it feels a bit like a willful omission just to keep you from asking these sorts of questions. Another problem is the voiceover dialogue from Claire is some of the worst that has been there this series. Really, some awful clangers this episode. And the other trouble is that everything has happened so quickly in this episode that you feel in the past it would have been slower with a lot more punctuation from Claire's voiceover telling you what's going on. But here, we must get about at least 3 episodes worth of events all in lightning quick scenes. And it really emphasises the languid pace of the show normally and the feeling that they're hammering through this stuff to get to the witch trial. And really, I think that's more an issue with the book because to be honest, in the book, this is where everything kind of loses the thread for a little bit between the first half, up to the bit on Craig Nadoon and the rescue from Black Jack Randall, and the build up to the finale, which will be coming in the later episodes in the season. But right this point in the middle is where the story loses track and meanders a wee bit. And I think the problem is they've tried to just get through this as fast as possible by getting it all done in 2 or 3 episodes. But while there was an awful lot to enjoy in this episode, I don't think this is ever going to be anyone's favourite, except maybe Simon Callow and his fans. But roll on the witch trail next week. So until then, I've been Ian, and these have been my grumpy opinions.